Music is more than just sound. It's how we mark time. It's a memory, a feeling. And for my generation, millennials, it was a format war. But it was also a war on ownership. It was a war on the definition of art itself. Music and its construct would go on to be challenged by every force imaginable. We didn't just grow up with music. We grew up through music. From CD clubs and LimeWire, to iPods and the secret torrent sites, to streaming fatigue, to a vinyl revival. This is my story, and maybe it's yours too. Chapter 1, Columbia House, 12 CDs for a penny. Columbia House was my first dealer, 12 CDs for a penny, and that penny felt like it unlocked the whole universe. I'd circle my picks with a pen like I was building a mixtape of my identity. Nirvana, Outkast, The Offspring, maybe even a random jazz album I'd never heard of. It was physical, tangible, music you could line up on a shelf and stare at like trophies. Sure, they got you later with overpriced CDs, but by then you didn't care. You had a collection, you had ownership. Columbia House was peak CD, and for the first time, music wasn't just something you heard, it was something you had. It was like the Spotify of its time, but you held it. MTV was blasting. Carson Daly was on TRL, and we were racing home to watch the next big premiere. Michael Jackson still mattered, and 50 Cent was one of the biggest rappers in the world. Christina Aguilera was a punchline to every Eminem joke. Music was centralized, controlled by the few, but communal, and somehow more innocent. We all huddled around the TV like past generations around an old radio. It was truly social, and not that different from past means. Then came LimeWire, a chaotic portal to everything and anything. Type in a song, hope for the best. You might get the track, you might get a remix. You might get a virus disguised as a 50 Cent song. But that was the thrill. Every MP3 was a little act of rebellion. You curated your library from the digital underground. Burned mixed CDs for your friends. Traded zip files on AOL Instant Messenger. It was messy, lawless, and totally unforgettable. I look back on this era fondly. It brought awareness around ownership. You realize that if you wanted to listen to something, you had to seek it, hunt for it. Back then, we used to lust over and desire music more than anything else in this world. Being young, music was our gateway for frustration and all the things we could never say. Radio was dying, TRL was gone, and music became something more personal, even more political. Music retreated from the limelight and into a more intimate era for personalization. Some artists hated this era, others leaned in. But one thing was clear, music became more consumable than ever before. This would become the beginning for a type of music more dictated by formula than any act of exploration and invention. It was also the era of rediscovery. We found the 80s, the optimism, the neon, the fun. We built massive libraries, made burned CDs by the spindle, gave our mixes names with Sharpies and moods. We weren't just fans anymore, we were curators, historians, and DJs. We did not know it, but we were slowly becoming preservationists. And all of it came from a sketchy zip file and a little bit of luck. Chapter 3, the iPod era. Curated in your pocket. Then came the iPod. 1,000 songs in your pocket, and every one of them mine. I didn't stream music. I built my library. Ripped CDs. Downloaded from LimeWire. Torrents from What.CD. Carefully tagged every track in iTunes. Made playlists for every mood. The iPod was more than just a device. It was a map of my memory. Every shuffle felt like destiny. Every track was a page in the story. The iPod was a great simplifier. We put away our CD players, banished them to drawers, and suddenly we had abundance. Hundreds of albums at our fingertips. No more cracked jewel cases. No more scratches. No more skipping. Just an endless library in our pockets. Chapter 4, What.CD, the hidden library. When LimeWire died, something deeper took its place. Not public, not mainstream. Secret. That's when I found What.CD, Waffles.fm, What.TV, and the likes of so many others. These were not websites, they were societies. In order to get in, you had to take a test, sit in an IRC chat room for hours on end, prove you knew the difference between 192 kilobits per second and FLAC. And once you were in, it was paradise. Bootlegs, demos, Japanese editions, full discographies. Everything was tagged, archived, documented. This wasn't piracy. This was preservation. And it changed the way I saw music forever. What.CD was like finding Mecca. Every album, every version, every quality. Want Pink Floyd's entire discography on vinyl? Want the Japanese pressings? No problem. It was beautiful, it was sacred, and it was totally free. We spent hours building libraries instead of scrolling. And you had to give back. You had to maintain your ratio, upload, share, contribute to the archive, or be gone forever. This was an era that made me into an audiophile and a music lover in my own eyes. Yet in the eyes of the government, we were criminals. In the eyes of the community, we were ensuring that generations of music would live on in perpetuity. Their mission was to keep every artist alive forever and to ensure that every human on earth would be able to listen to music. Before that, it was all joy. What.CD gave me obsession and made music sacred again. This era defines music for the masses. It questioned who really owned the music. It questioned the very definition of art and music. What was a copy? What was an original? Is a poorly ripped CD even the same thing as the original CD? Or is it just a terrible reproduction of the real thing? Chapter 5, Streaming. Everything, yet nothing. And then, it all became infinite. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Any song, anytime. Music on tap. But something was missing. No more collecting, no more curating, no more intimacy or relationship between you and the artist, the liner notes, and the lyric sheets. The physicality was gone. Gone was a kind of random access memory. Gone is the mental landscape of music that existed in my mind, readily available to tap into. Just scrolling, skipping, forgetting. I had access to everything, and yet I could remember nothing. But I didn't feel connected to any of it. Spotify made it easy. It knew your vibe, made your playlists, gave you recommendations. It brought the What.CD experience to the mainstream. But something got lost in the ease. The hours spent fixing metadata, hunting for album art, creating playlists for every emotion. That was part of the experience. Spotify made music communal again, but not always intentional. It's hyper-personal now. We get to lean into our weirdness, follow the niche. We also forget. We let the algorithms drive us. And something about that feels hollow. It can keep you stuck in a lane with little recourse for ever exiting. Chapter 6, Vinyl, the Return to Ritual. That's when I started going back to something physical, something intentional. Vinyl. Not the same records from my parents' basement, but new pressings, indie label drops, colored wax, gatefold sleeves. I started listening again, not just hearing. Side A, then side B. No skipping, no algorithms, no rush. It felt like the antidote to an era of infinite choice, a ritual, a reset. It started in 2011. I was broken in college. My friend pulled out an old turntable, plugged in some massive wooden speakers, and dropped the needle. It was divine, confusing, revelatory. I thought it would sound like trash, or worse, some old-timey invention. Instead, it sounded like home. My first record was Stan Getz, and from that day I was hooked. Vinyl wasn't about chasing quality. It was rebellion. It was $5 crate digs. It was chance, serendipity, letting the music happen to you. We weren't chasing artists anymore. We were chasing experiences. Music became a kind of organic drug again, and we started listening like it mattered, because it did. Outro, from chaos to curation. Each format changed the way I relate to music. Columbia House taught me to collect. LimeWire taught me to hunt. What.CD taught me to curate. The Ipod taught me to carry it with me. Streaming taught me what I was missing. And vinyl? Vinyl taught me to listen again. This isn't just nostalgia. It's memory. It's evolution. And for some of us, it's everything. Today, CDs are coming back. And that shouldn't surprise anyone, because music is identity, memory, a time capsule. We want to own a piece of it, put it on the shelf, hold it in our hands. Formats are vibes now, moods, aesthetics, a way of expressing ourselves. But deep down, I think we're all preservationists. We want to save it, pass it on, because music isn't just art. It's history, it's rebellion, revolution, memory, and prophecy. And in every spin of the record, every press of play, we remember.